G'day trendsetters, coming to you today with a review not of my cherry 2007 Honda Element SC, love that rig, possibly one of the best bike carrying rigs of all time, rather the ENVE Fray to my right. According to ENVE HQ, the ENVE Fray is an all-road bike, an endurance bike, yet it has tyre clearance for up to 700C by 40mm in a 1x configuration, or 700C by 38mm in a 2x configuration, as you see here. Funnily enough, about 10 years ago, the bike manufacturers who were ahead of the curve with gravel bikes at the time, many of them were of the thinking that 700C by 38mm was more than enough to cover your gravelly road needs. Yet here we are in 2024 and tyres are getting wider and wider, as is tyre clearance. However, there is plenty of validity for a versatile bike such as the ENVE Fray, but if you desire to go wild and crazy on the gravelly roads less travelled, you're better off looking at the ENVE Mog. That bike will clear 700C by 50mm. With all that said, it's time to crack on with my review of the ENVE Fray. The Fray's geometry is optimised for tyres measuring 31 to 35mm, but as I mentioned earlier, or I should say proven, 38mm will work just fine. More on that later. The Fray's frame is constructed from ENVE's MOD carbon fibre, and that includes the fork, which features 1.5-inch bearings top and bottom. Because the Fray is an all-road type design, ENVE relaxed the geometry a little bit. For example, if you compare a similarly sized Melee, their hot rod road bike, versus the same size in the Fray, the head tube is going to be 20mm taller. This particular Fray is a size 52, measuring 539mm on the top tube, with a head tube of 137mm. There's no denying, if you walk around this bike, it's pretty speedy looking. The ENVE handlebar and stem combination is almost slammed, but this bike fits me like a glove. Don't forget, bike fitting is personal. What works for me may not work for you, and if you ever have issues with bike fitting, be sure to check out a qualified bike fitter. With that said, this frame set is available in 7 different sizes and 4 different fork rakes, and each of those fork rakes complements its appropriately sized frame. Thus, ENVE is not skimping anywhere with this bike, which is a good thing because the frame module, meaning the frame, fork, seat post, handlebar and stem, well, they're not exactly cheap. Onto the standout features of the Fray. The frame is UDH compatible. You might be thinking, hang on, aren't you shoehorned into a SRAM drivetrain with that? Well, as you can see, this bike is kitted out with a Shimano Dura Ace Di2 12-speed semi-wireless electronic drivetrain, so that answer is no. Thus, the sky is not going to fall upon us. Bottom bracket standard is the Gigundo T47, which is threaded, and that's going to make plenty of people watching this video very happy. The bike also arrives with an abundance of mounts, which is somewhat unusual for a bike in this category. You get the usual mounts on the down tube and seat tube, but there's an extra special feature on the down tube. ENVE has what they call the cargo box on the down tube. You can remove with a clever little hatch, slide the hatch open, and that part of the frame pops away with the bottle case still attached to reveal in-frame storage. Pretty unusual on a bike of this type. You can utilize that storage area for tools, a spare tube, or in my case, perhaps a Vegemite sandwich. By the way, Vegemite is far superior to Marmite. Moving on. No matter your thoughts on a feature of this type, ENVE's execution is quite nice. Continuing the frame mounting points, you also get the top tube mount, the bento box mount, the food bag mount, whatever you like to call it. One of my favorite places to stash stuff on top of the bike, and incidentally, my top tube bag of choice I absolutely love, and it goes so well with this bike, the Dark Speedworks top tube packs. You can check those out. They're linked in the description below, and they are handmade in Chicago, Illinois, US of A. Wrapping up the mounting points, ENVE have also gone crazy and added beneath the down tube the position I like to call the cow catcher position, which is pretty bonkers for a frame of this type. I wouldn't be drinking water from there, but possibly a place for you to stash some more tools, etc. And there's also some very discreet fender mounts on this bike, front and rear. Because ENVE are boffins, that means really smart people, of everything aerodynamic, they have optimized all the frame tubes of this bike so it's fast as, no matter where you're riding, on a road, a paved road, a dodgy road, etc. Now, whilst the bike is currently shod with ENVE G23 gravel specific wheels, I have been riding plenty of miles on the ENVE SES 45s. Hold that thought for a second. Here they are, the ENVE SES 4.5s. This bike's frame tubes are optimized to play nicely with this particular design of wheel. With that said, I don't have a wind tunnel at my disposal to dispute those claims, so we're going to go with it. The one thing to mention, placebo. If you feel fast, you will be fast. Continuing the aerodynamic madness of the Fray, the cockpit is by ENVE. That's the integrated bar and stem system, and it utilizes the ENVE in-route cable management system. I've seen a few of these different systems, and in my humble opinion, ENVE is among the best for running internal cables. Of course, this fact alone is going to piss off many people watching this video, potentially your bike mechanic. But generally, these systems are set and forget, but I do encourage folks, if you're going to build a bike like this from scratch, use very high quality bearings in the headset so you don't have to mess about. Because if you have to work on this bike, there's a lot of finagling and dismantling that has to happen. Wrapping up the cockpit parts, that is an ENVE carbon seat post with a 20mm offset. I'm pleased to say the ENVE clamping mechanism on the Fray is no nonsense. It works perfectly. The seat post has stayed in place and it's not maddening to adjust. I have alluded to this a couple of times. The Fray is available as a module, or you can purchase it complete. If you do purchase as a module, there's a couple of facts to be aware of concerning drivetrain compatibility. The Fray will work with every drivetrain except for SRAM 2x-mechanical, Campy 2x-mechanical, and Campy EPS. I'm assuming ENVE is referring to the wired version and not the more recent wireless version of Campy EPS. The main reasons for this is the Fray requires continuous housing for the front derailleur to operate. Regarding liveries, there are 3 stock offerings. There is Venom Salt, and this example, Ash, which looks like Battleship Grey to me, but glossy. Rightio, trendsetters, that wraps up the technical features of the ENVE Fray, a machine I have ridden in California and the southeastern United States. So therefore now, it's time to find out how the ENVE Fray rides. The ENVE Fray is fast, light and agile, but it isn't a gravel bike, it isn't a full-on race bike, and it really isn't an endurance road bike. So I'm just going to say here, it's possibly the best all-road / any road / shitty road pavement bike I have ridden. Sizing is personal. Consult the sizing chart or your local fitter. I sized down. I prefer to make a smaller bike larger with little things such as a longer stem and a wee bit more seat post showing. The head tube is 137mm long on the size 52, and with the stem almost slammed, there is a small spacer beneath the stem. The stem is sitting right about where I position myself on a gravel bike. Top tube is 539mm long, and I've got plenty of seat post showing. Yet, from the first pedal strokes near Paso Robles, California aboard the Fray, it felt absolutely dialed in, like a fast and extremely versatile road bike. No thanks to its low weight, tipping the scales at around 17 pounds, fitted with the ENVE 4.5 wheels and those sweet ENVE 700C by 35mm huge ass tubeless tyres, which measure about 36.5mm, with my trusty medical grade calipers. I've ridden a few endurance road bikes in my time, and the ENVE Fray is anything but that. There's no slow handling. The bike is eager to go in the saddle, out the saddle, into a corner, out of a corner. You get the picture. The combined sound of this frame and fork ticking along with those 4.5 wheels and those fast as 35mm tyres on any pavement, no matter how crap, is rather intoxicating. To me, the bike just oozes speed and fun. On dirt and gravel roads, that's no worries too. Just bear in mind the limits of traction and adhesion with slick tyres and set your tyre pressure appropriately. Feel free to consult my handy chart linked below or the little box on screen. I mentioned the Fray isn't a gravel bike, but that's just a suggestion to me. With the ENVE G23s installed with Panarace Gravel King SKs in 700C by 38mm, we're talking just shy of 39mm of tyre, which just barely clears the Dura-Ace Di2 front derailleur. Some people love the road gearing of a 50-34 chainring 2x pairing on gravel, but for me that gearing is too large. However, this bike rides so comfortably over garbage pavement along with many gravel roads that you may encounter, except with bugger all provision for any mud pack, etc. Seriously, get yourself an ENVE Mog for your crazy gravel adventures. With that said, the Fray is a bike I would ride at, say, that huge gravel event in Steamboat Springs, Colorado with 38mm GK/SK tyres, or one of my favourite events from my former road racing days on dodgy roads, Rouge-Roubaix down in Louisiana, albeit with 35mm slick tyres. There's a ton of roads on planet Earth you could ride this bike with. It just depends on your comfort level. And remember, just a few years ago, 38mm tyres were often the norm. I'm not a talented ascender by any means, and I do prefer staying seated. I have no way of proving this, but every watt of my power output, no matter how minuscule, resulted in forward motion through the drivetrain without any noticeable frame flex. That includes those rare times when I was grovelling up a very steep dirt road, undergeared, riding a 34x28 gear combo and a 12+% grade. I don't enjoy bags dangling off my bike too much. I can tolerate a small saddlebag and generally load up my jersey pockets. With the Fray's internal storage compartment, I can keep a nice toolkit such as Wolftooth's excellent 8-bit pack pliers, review linked below, inside the frame with a tube, a tyre lever, etc. It is difficult to categorise who this bike is for, but it is undeniably versatile with ultra-high performance. I can best describe the Fray as a road bike with big tyre clearance, one that you can ride on all roads, any roads, provided you are aware of its limitations. To me, it's the perfect road bike that I wouldn't hesitate to road or crit race, ride with mates on fast and fun group rides, and realistically, a perfect complement to my gravel bike when I wanted something a little faster, but for riding a little less gnarlier. The frame module isn't cheap at US $5,500, but that includes frame, fork, handlebar stem, and seat post, which represents a much better deal, and I think a better deal than big brand bikes starting with the letter S and the like. Big positive, if you enjoy riding a bike that's different, the Fray would complement your gravel bike perfectly, and it stands out from the sea of boring and slow endurance-oriented carbon bikes, which could make the ENVE Fray perfect for you. Learn more over at ENVE's website, including their wild and crazy gravel bike, the Mog. So there you have it, trendsetters, my review of the fantastic ENVE Fray, a bike designed for, well, all manner of road surfaces really, but keep its limitations in mind. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for real world, no bull gravel bike reviews such as this one, other product reviews, ride experience videos, and a topic near and dear to my heart, general madness. Been a good life, I tell you, people. the f am I doing with my life? Oh yeah, I just remembered, it's pretty bloody awesome. We'll see you in the next video.